The one that got away, a term that's tossed around to describe someone we regret not being with. And in that regard, I can't relate. Besides, I know my wife is watching. Hi there, hon. But as it relates to the cars I've owned, there is one that I really miss. My Kia Sportage. Man, I had so much fun with that thing. So when I was told that I could review the current one, I was like, yes, please. It's time to get reacquainted. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Kia Sportage GT. When it comes to the compact crossover segment, there are numerous options. And while a lot of them seem to be birds of the same feather, I think this one goes against the grain, which makes it even more desirable. In fact, I think this is the most underrated crossover in its class. Some say Sportage while others say Sportage. You can call it what you want, but on this video, I'm gonna stick with Sportage. Why? Because it's my video. And if some keyboard warrior wants to insist that I'm saying it wrong, well, knock yourself out on the comment section. At first glance, this may come across as polarizing, but the more I look at it, the more captivated I am by it. Like any Kia, you get the tiger nose grille, but what sets this apart is the fact that the headlights are positioned slightly higher. And because of that, a lot of people will say that this may have been inspired by the Porsche Macan or Cayenne. But I don't think so. That's like saying anyone who wears a beard was inspired by Santa. So I still think this is distinctly Sportage. And to give this top spec GT line even more distinction, all the lights are LED. The headlights, the DRLs, and the fog lamps. Along the side, you get these beautiful 19-inch alloys and four-wheel disc brakes. The black body cladding is also tastefully done, nothing too excessive. You also get a heated power folding side mirror and illuminated door handles, which is a really nice touch. Another unique trait of this crossover is the fact that you do not get a quarter glass window between what should be the C and D pillar. And I think that really gives the Sportage its signature look. At the back, you get LED taillights and a rear garnish that stretches across the rear. You also get this nicely integrated rear spoiler that not only looks good, it's functional too. Just don't ask me how. Oh, and you also get these really gorgeous looking twin exhaust pipes. And yes, they're real. Otherwise, I wouldn't have called them gorgeous. Opening the rear tailgate is done manually and reveals 491 liters of cargo space. If you want more space, you can always fold the rear seats down to give you 1,480 liters. Let's check out the rest of the interior. When you step into the Sportage, what you immediately notice is how driver-centric everything is. The center panel is slightly angled towards the driver. And that really helps in terms of ergonomics. But not only is everything well within reach, there are also physical knobs and buttons for almost all the functions. It is also extremely intuitive as most of it can be operated by feel. They also feel nice to the touch and almost all the plastic used above the knees are soft. Now the interior is mostly black as you can see, and the beltline sits relatively high. So it would have been a nice touch to have a panoramic sunroof to give it more of an airy feel. But to break the monotony, there are silver and piano black accents. And most of the high traffic areas are in a matte finish. And I find it so amusing that a lot of people get all bent out of shape about interiors having so many piano black plastics. I hear reviewers complain about it all the time. And it just baffles me because the entire exterior of the car is with a glossy finish and is more exposed to the elements. But that's just me. Anyway, back to the review. So you get an 8-inch infotainment system that comes standard with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And it's really good to see that this has a reverse camera because rear visibility could be greatly improved. And speaking of rearward visibility, you also get an auto-dimming rear view mirror. The instrument cluster is made up of analog gauges, which I personally like because it makes it very clear. You do get a multi-information screen which displays various pieces of useful information. This also allows you to adjust various vehicle settings, but you can only do that if the car is in park, which is a good safety feature. The interior of the Sportage also gives you heaps of storage, and the absence of a park brake on the center console makes way for cup holders, a few cubby holes, and this well-placed center armrest that also has additional storage. So where's the park brake? Well, it's right here. Now, this may not be the most modern interior by today's standards. After all, this has been around for almost 6 years, but it's aging quite well, and I'm pretty sure it will continue to do so. And besides, you still get a lot of the creature comforts you'd come to expect from a new car, such as power seats for both the driver and front passenger, push-button start, various drive modes, and leather upholstery. The air conditioning unit is a dual-zone climate control system, and you'll be pleased to know you also get rear air vents. Space back there is outstanding. There's heaps of legroom, and the back of the seat slightly reclined so you can really stretch out while increasing headroom. You also get a 12-volt outlet and a center armrest with cup holders. The level of comfort that this provides is top-notch, and the best part is you get additional goodies such as aluminum sport pedals, paddle shifters, and a flat-bottom steering wheel to also give it a sporty vibe. But let's see if that sportiness resonates when we take this thing out on the road. That, my friends, is what you get from a 2-liter CRDi turbocharged engine that produces 182 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque. Now, all that torque doesn't just come in handy when you want to drive like a lunatic. It also has more practical applications. Because all that torque really makes the Sportage feel light on its feet. And that means overtaking or getting off the line is an effortless affair, which really takes the fatigue out of driving. Now, that power isn't there to give you a stellar 0 to 60 or quarter-mile time. It's actually there to make the car respond more promptly to your throttle inputs. And that's exactly how you want it in a crossover. Now, I know there are SUVs out there that boast of having more than 500 Newton meters of torque. But let's not forget that this is still a compact crossover, which makes it a lot lighter. So I'm pretty sure that this can outrun most of the competition. The transmission comes in the form of this 8-speed automatic, and I really love the way it's tuned. Its shift patterns align so well with your throttle inputs and your overall driving style. Now, when you pop it into manual mode and you use the paddle shifters, you'll see that the shifts are pretty quick, but not as quick as a DCT. But at least the gear shifts are silky smooth. And paddle shifters are good to have. I'm not going to deny that they're a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, you really won't need them because regardless of what gear you're in this thing, there's always more than enough pulling power. So yes, the sportiness is felt in the drive, but that's not just because this thing pulls hard, because the steering is also nicely weighted. And the ratio is very quick to respond. And I really love how it firms up as you go faster and when you tackle twisty roads. This feels so good, especially in sport mode. On-center feel on the previous generation Sportage was actually pretty vague, but they've corrected that with this one. And the difference is night and day. But more importantly, crossovers also have to be comfortable. And the Sportage excels in that department too. It strikes a phenomenal balance between comfort and sportiness. The suspension is extremely compliant and the NVH is superb. You might even forget you're driving a diesel. It's that quiet. The word crossover is meant to signify getting the best of both worlds. And the Sportage really takes that term to a whole new level. Now, my only real gripe with this is the brake feel. Under normal conditions, it's perfect. It works perfectly fine. But when you're accelerating hard and you have to come to a sudden halt, let's say a kamote driver comes out of nowhere, you'll find that it feels a bit mushy and requires a bit more effort than you'd expect to get it to stop. But overall, this is such a pleasure to drive. In fact, it really makes me miss my old car. So if you're someone who needs something that's comfortable, but you don't want to forego some of that spirited driving, then this makes a really good choice. The Kia Sportage GT can be yours for 1,820,000 pesos. And I'm not going to deny that that's a lot of money, because it is. But if it is within your budget, you really owe it to yourself to at least take this out on a test drive, because no brochure can illustrate what you get with this. And I really think a huge reason as to why this remains underrated is simply because not enough people allow themselves to experience it.